Whatever reason your ex gave for the breakup, chances are their main motivator was actually a loss of attraction. Studies show again and again that attraction is the key that keeps relationships on track, smooths out issues, and maintains connection through difficult times. Now, this is not to say that attraction can solve all your problems, but it keeps you both interested. It keeps you both on the same page so that you're actually willing to do the work required to solve your problems. And so if you can rebuild your attraction in the eyes of your ex, they'll be more willing to work through whatever it was that came between you. So first, we're going to talk about why your ex lost attraction for you, and then we'll talk about how you can rebuild that attraction through psychology. And it turns out that positivity is actually the key here. So that means we're not going to use, manipulation or negativity to try to change their minds. It's all good vibes in this video. Now, obviously, I'm Brad Browning, best-selling author and breakup coach, and I've been on YouTube for over 15 years now. I've worked with tens of thousands of coaching clients over the years, and so I've seen what loss of attraction can really do to a relationship. And frankly, this is something that everyone deals with to some extent. It's hard to maintain that red-hot passion that you felt when you first laid eyes on each other. And I mean, psychologically speaking, we just get used to somebody if they're a constant presence. Attraction almost always fades over time with repeated exposure. And it's called habituation, or basically taking somebody for granted. But there are ways around this. You can build up the relationship so that when attraction naturally settles, you have lots of other points of connection keeping you together. Or you can, make attraction a priority and find new and exciting ways of keeping the spark alive. Now, ideally, you need to do both if you really want to maintain a happy, healthy relationship. But what about after a breakup? Well, I won't lie to you, but a breakup is a big signifier that your partner has suffered a major loss of attraction. But here's the good news. Loss of attraction is very common and it's reversible. And going through a breakup can actually have major advantages for those looking to rebuild attraction and actually get a fresh start together. Now, I will explain why, but first, let's talk a bit about why people lose attraction. According to a 2024 study in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, when relationship satisfaction dips below 65% for either person, the relationship is heading for a breakup. And one of the biggest deciding factors in relationship satisfaction is attraction. So why do we lose attraction? Well, really, there's three major factors at play. And number one is just boredom and predictability. See, early on in a relationship, attraction rules really all of your interactions. You can spend hours just exploring your physical and mental connection, and time feels like it flies by. You live in your little own world, basically. But because that attraction was more than enough in the beginning, we can come to rely on it far too much as the central pillar in our relationship. And that means that we stop finding new ways to connect, and so we get stuck in a rut. We keep having the same interactions and the same boring dates because we assume that the magic will always be there. And the second thing is changes in physical appearance. Now, I'm sure I don't have to tell you that if you let yourself go, you gain a bunch of weight, then obviously your partner can lose attraction to you. But the same goes for, if your appearance changes really in any significant way, even if it might seem like a good change. Remember, attraction is really difficult to pin down. So, maybe that haircut, while flattering, exposes your ears in a way that reminds your partner of their great aunt. Maybe your new tattoo draws attention to your double chin. You just don't know how something small like that is going to affect how your partner sees you. And the third thing is unresolved conflicts. Now, conflict is not typically totally destructive to a relationship, but repeated conflict can wear you down and turn you and your partner against each other. It can make you, see one another as obstacles rather than soulmates. And from their point of view, you're refusing to see their side of things, and so it feels like you don't really care about them. It's almost like you have a giant stain on your shirt that you refuse to clean up, and they can't stop staring at it. And pretty soon, the thing that you don't even recognize as a problem has just ruined their attraction to you. All right, now let's talk about how to use psychology to rebuild that attraction that you've lost. Now, I know that many of you are going to say it's impossible. If your ex lost physical attraction towards you, then what kind of psychological trick is going to change that? Well, first off, their attraction isn't fully gone. It's not like your ex is now disgusted by the sight of you or anything. They've just lost touch with that part of themselves that was initially attracted to you due to the factors that we just talked about. And secondly, I'm going to point to a very surprising fact that will show you that this is not only possible, but it's actually something that people achieve every single day. And though it seems unbelievable, it has been borne out by the results of several studies. And that fact is this: people with good personalities are reported as being more physically attractive regardless of how they look. Now, of course, being funny, being nice, being extroverted is going to make you more attractive to most people. But what's surprising is it actually changes how we rate another person's physical appearance. It literally changes how we see. Now, this has actually been studied extensively as recently as a 2023 study by the University of Rome. Now, the study is called Good Conduct Makes Your Face Attractive. So if you don't trust me, at least trust the science. So, while getting in shape can help, it's much faster and more rewarding to change how your ex perceives your appearance via your personality. So here's a piece of advice that you can actually use, and that is compliment other people. See, people tend to try to win someone's heart by flattering the other person or by trying to make themselves look more impressive than they actually are. But science has found that there's a more effective way to do this, and it's through something called spontaneous trait transference. Now, spontaneous trait transference, it's quite a mouthful, is the idea that the qualities that we ascribe to others often get ascribed to us. So basically, if your friend keeps telling you how smart they think your brother is, you'll usually end up thinking that your friend is the smart one. Now, scientists aren't really quite sure why this phenomenon exists, but several studies from the Journal of Personality and Psychology found it to be extremely reliable under a number of different circumstances. Now, my personal theory is that it goes back to a classic childhood comeback. It takes one to know one. Basically, if you're talking about it, then you must be an authority. So if you say someone is smart, honest, or reliable, chances are you are those things also. But again, that's only my theory because it doesn't really explain why somebody will think that you're hot if you call another person beautiful. But the important thing is, it does work. So don't overthink it. When you're in a conversation with your ex, I want you to just praise other people, and specifically praise the attributes that you want your ex to see in you. But there is a big disclaimer here. I think that steering clear of physical compliments is probably a good idea right now, because of course, if you're telling your ex how beautiful you find their sister, that isn't going to work out in your favor, trust me. But complimenting people close to you is going to be a good idea because it'll seem more natural in the conversation. So for example, say they're talking about something their mother told them, you could quickly say, I believe it. Your mother's always super smart. And really, that's the way to do it. Quick, subtle, and in the context of the conversation. And this isn't one that you should lean on too often because it's only going to take a couple of these to really shift your ex's perception of you. And if you're not in contact with your ex yet, at least, just try this out on your friends and those people close to you. It's going to improve their perception of you, which is going to make them nicer to you, which is going to improve your happiness and confidence, and therefore, make your ex more attracted to you when the two of you do start speaking again. And really, this really does go beyond just positive trait transference. It's about looking at the world and the people around you in a more positive light. And this is the kind of thing that you can easily lose during a breakup. So if you can show your ex that you still have a good outlook despite your sadness, it's going to go a long way to making you more attractive. And if you're surrounded by negativity, then please consider allowing me to be a positive influence in your life. I can help you sort through the issues with your ex and find the path forward to reconnect with them in a permanent, healthy way. And all you have to do is sign up for my very affordable coaching at breakupbrad.com/coaching, and then you can tell me your whole story and all about your situation. I've helped many thousands of people in difficult situations, and I know that I can help you too if you're willing to take the plunge. Again, just go to breakupbrad.com/coaching to check my availability and start working with me today. Now let's move on and talk about another way to supercharge your attractiveness, and that is through mystery. So a 2011 study titled He Loves Me Not found that people were more attracted to someone when they were uncertain about how much that person liked them. Now this is something that, we've all seen in practice. Desperation really puts a damper on your feelings for another person. But doing the opposite really doesn't work either. Showing someone that you don't care about them at all and that you're not attracted to them, it may catch some people's interest for a while, but eventually they're going to get bored of trying to reach somebody who doesn't reciprocate at all. So the real answer is to hide your feelings, to be a little mysterious, and don't overshare. So first off, keep your feelings for your ex completely under wraps for now. They shouldn't know that you love them, that you care about them, or that you desperately want them back. Now, if you've already revealed this kind of stuff, then you have hurt your position a bit, but all hope is not lost. And this is when no contact becomes a powerful tool, an essential tool, really. If you stop talking to your ex for a month or even 6 weeks, when the two of you do reconnect, they're going to be very curious about your feelings towards them and just in general. And curiosity really is your best friend here. Because if your ex knows how you feel, positive or negative, then they have nothing to wonder about. If they're not sure, then it's going to stick in their mind. They're going to run the question over and over in their head, looking for clues about your feelings one way or another. And when they're thinking about you all the time, that's when their attraction towards you is going to start to build over time without them even realizing it's happening. But mystery needs to go beyond your feelings. You really want to embody it in every aspect of your life. In fact, one of the reasons that no contact works is that it makes creating mystery effortless. All you need to do is just stay quiet and they'll be unable to figure you out. Now, I have actually put a whole video together on this topic that I'm going to link to in the corner here and in the description below. So check that out if you're interested in learning how to use no contact in a wide variety of situations, including the one that you're probably facing. Now, social media is also going to be another great way to create mystery through selective disclosure, basically revealing enough to make them curious. So I would encourage you to post infrequently, but in a targeted way. Your post should create really more questions than they answer. So for example, a photo of you with somebody that your ex has never met is going to be way more powerful if you don't caption it, this is my friend Henry who I met at the pub. If you just leave it blank, then that random person could be anyone, even someone you've started dating. You see how that works? And in the intelligence world, they actually call this a limited hangout. It's where you reveal a little information, but you keep all the most important stuff to yourself. Now, do keep in mind that this information really still does need to be true, because you're not trying to deceive your ex or destroy their trust. You're just managing what they know and when they know it to make yourself as attractive as possible. And once you reconnect, keep that mystery alive by continuing to play it cool. Don't tell them everything you're feeling and thinking. Don't share all your plans and what you had for lunch. Keep it mysterious, and they're going to fill in the blanks in a big way. Now, let's talk about another psychological phenomenon. And this one was discovered by one of America's founding fathers, and that is why it's called the Benjamin Franklin effect. Now, Benjamin Franklin, as you probably know, was a very accomplished statesman and politician, and this obviously involved convincing a great many people to do things for him that they might not want to do. And along the way, he discovered something interesting. He found that once somebody has done you a favor, the more they tend to like you and the more likely they are to do more favors for you in the future. Now, this is really the opposite of how you'd think it would work. You'd think that if you do a favor for someone, they would like you more instead of the other way around. But when you really think about it, it does start to make sense. We typically only do favors for people who we actually care about. So this has created a natural link in our heads between doing a favor and caring about the person that we're helping. So in essence, you're tapping into this principle, but in reverse. So they think, I must like this person if I'm helping them. And that increases their attraction to you. Now, to be honest, this one can be tricky to pull off in the context of a breakup. So if you haven't talked to your ex in months and the last thing they said to you was, go screw yourself, don't call them up and ask to borrow $1,000. But if the two of you have been talking more, then don't be afraid to look to them for support in various ways. It might be hard to put yourself out there, but you would honestly be surprised at the difference that this can make. So for example, a while back I had a client who was trying to get her ex back, and at the same time, she was also trying to remodel her house so she could sell it. I guess some people are just overachievers. But anyway, she was on a deadline because she had a bunch of contractors coming in, so she had to do a bunch of demolition work before they arrived. And so she was so busy that she missed a few texts from her ex, and he started to think that she wasn't interested. And on top of that, her ignoring his messages was actually one of the reasons that they broke up in the first place. So she didn't know what to do. She didn't want to lose him again, but she had to focus and get all the demolition work done in her house. So out of options, and without really asking me, she ended up asking her ex to come over and help her with the house. Now, she was worried that she'd scare him off by asking him for such a big favor, but to her surprise, he was really happy to get his hands dirty and help with the project. And that project did end up giving them an excuse to actually spend time together, to rebuild their bond by doing something that they both enjoyed. Now, it took a few weeks, but these two people, this couple, did end up getting back together. Of course, it doesn't always end happily like that, but honestly, often it does. But really, at the end of the day, this is just another way that you can use positive psychology to build your ex's attraction for you. It's not only effective, but it is really truly very achievable, and it works quickly as well. And that's because positivity is always going to be more effective than negativity. You want to Inspire your ex, not manipulate them. That's the way that attraction lasts because it comes from a real, honest place. Now, if you happen to be in a really difficult situation with your ex, you're probably going to need to take some more significant steps to change how they feel about you. So please check out my latest video, which I talk about this very topic by clicking in the link in the corner here or in the description below. Please watch that next to learn more. For now, best of luck, guys, and see you next time right here. Bye for now.